Welcome to Gagliardi's Got Real Estate Podcast, hosted by myself, Gerald, Sabri, and Rocky Gagliardi. We look forward to bringing you something fresh, something new the Goulburn Valley hasn't seen before, more informative information. We've got special guests, hot topics. Make sure you follow on your preferred podcast platform, GSRE socials. We hope you enjoy this episode. Good morning, guys. Gerald, Sabri here for another episode of our GSRE podcast, and we welcome Greater Shepparton City Council Mayor Shane Sali to our podcast this morning, which will certainly enlighten us on a few topics around the Goulburn Valley area. So, firstly, welcome, Shane.
Yeah, thanks, Gerald. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Good to be finally a part of your very successful podcast.
Yeah, Shane's been waiting a little while, so we've saved the best till last, so to speak. But Shane, thanks again for starting and coming on with us. Well, what's a normal day look like for Shane Sali at the moment?
Yeah, good question. I get that a little bit. Look, it does vary. And I mean, this week is a perfect example. Coming off the back of last week, we were in Hong Kong with council at Asia Fruit Logistica, which is something we do quite often. So really good that this council is extremely proactive in sort of being front and centre regarding our horticultural space. I know you know how important that is to our region. It's nearly a $1 billion industry to our region. So we've always had a presence there at Asia Fruit Logistica. Obviously, with COVID not being able to attend, made it a bit challenging. And last year we were scheduled to go in October. It was early November, but we pulled out because obviously we had the flood event. So I was scheduled to go last year. Grateful to have an opportunity to be there this year. So that was last week. And then obviously last week the announcement was made from the federal government around the water buybacks that's possibly going to impact our region here. And what would that mean to our region? So we thought that when we landed late Friday afternoon, great to be back home. Obviously, I'm married with 3 young kids, so they were excited and got to the footy. And then you get back in a general council business on Monday, and we were straight into planning as to what this week looks like. And today being Wednesday afternoon, we decided yesterday morning, obviously being Tuesday, that we've got to go up to Canberra. So I guess to explain my role is that it is literally take every day as it comes. And I know that can be a little bit cliche, but it's not as if you start a project on Monday and you know you're going to be doing this for months on end. You have to be flexible in the role, and it can require you to be told effectively on an early Tuesday morning, hey, we've got to get to Canberra. You get things in play, and you're effectively organising things as you're heading up the Hume Highway. So in Canberra for a couple of days, and then that's the end of your week. And then there's always some good events that are happening. I just finished at the flood inquiry as well. We know we were faced with our biggest flood event last year, and
it's funny. It's been only 12 months. How quick it's gone.
And there's still people out of their homes. I know you would be across that as well. So we faced the flood inquiry this morning. That was good to be able to share some learnings from the flood event, and obviously also highlight some good things that we did. I mean, our community came together like no other, and we are used as an example right across the state and even the nation in some ways about how our community rallied together to support one another. So, that can be a standard week, and then other weeks I'm still involved in our local businesses as well. So get dragged down the Maud Street Mall from time to time as well.
Busy man, and obviously you're still running business. You're family orientated, so there's a lot on your plate to juggle. Isn't it?
It is. I mean, when I took the opportunity to consider running for council, my main goal was obviously to get elected, and I was very proud and honoured to be an elected councillor, and that was sort of my benchmark. I didn't really have aspirations for deputy mayor or mayor. Sort of believe on that sort of natural evolution, and just it'll evolve, and things happen quite quickly. Obviously, we had our previous mayor resign, and sort of most of the councillors looked at me and said, you should consider it. And I put my hand up, and grateful to get their support. I mean, you can't do it without the support of your councillors, and got into it last year. And I remember at the time I said to my wife Lydia, who's sort of in our businesses, and you know her well, and we got young kids, that this would be a good opportunity for us. I always say it's about us. Let's do this together. And it started off slowly, and it's ramped up a little bit. So I often apologise to her quite frequently. So, but no, it's all good.
They're the ones behind the scenes, isn't it? So
absolutely,
you're married and kids, and it's a balancing act. So I think you're doing a great job for Shepparton and the Goulburn Valley.
Thank you.
So the Goulburn Valley areas. I mean, we're strong in a lot of areas, Shane. Just touch on a couple of areas we're working on and what's developed fairly quickly, and some of the areas that we still need some attention to work on Shepparton and Goulburn Valley.
Yeah, it's a good question. One of the hardest questions is that you can always talk about, what you do well, but what are the things that we want to improve as well? I mean, you're never going to have a perfect model.
No.
As I mentioned, we're in Hong Kong, so on the back of, Horton Ag. So that's what we do well.
Yeah.
We do that.
Yep.
We know we're the food bowl of Australia, and that's highlighted often. So I think, we need to continue to leverage that, and we have. We know industry is huge here. We've
Absolutely.
got one of the largest transport sort of logistic hubs you would say, from a regional perspective in all of Australia. I mean, there's more trucks registered here in Greater Shepparton than anywhere else in Victoria.
Yeah,
so
right.
it's hard to believe. So 25% of the trucks are registered here.
Yeah.
So that's no surprise. You know yourself.
Yeah.
We all know the transport companies that sit here, and that's built on the back of our industry and ag here. So we need to continue to leverage that and attract investment in that sector, because it brings jobs. And if you haven't got business and you haven't got jobs, you haven't got a community. And then what flows on from there is all your community benefits that come. And we saw that through the flood event, what community do when they come together. So we know businesses and community support sporting clubs. We know we do sport really well. Our sports precinct is unbelievable and something you wouldn't see in regional Australia. The only missing piece of that puzzle, and we all know, and we were there at the Gators grand final, is our sports stadium. So we've got to get that going, and obviously our bypass as well, that east-west connection and second river crossing. So when we look at how do we make them happen and how do we continue to make the things that we do well sort of continually succeed, they're the things that we need to keep building on. The challenges that we have is understanding that we do, in some ways, a large portion of our community are part of a vulnerable sector as well, and they are obviously faced with a lot of challenges that most wouldn't. We know we've got one of the largest, if not on a per capita homeless rate here as well, and a lot of people might see that as well, because it's quite a visual.
It is.
So what are we doing to try and support that? We know we've had some affordable housing projects come across the table, and some haven't been accepted, but we are working towards one that is here in the Shepparton CBD that sits at the back of Rose Street and High Street car park as well, that's being proposed. At the moment, it's out for an expressions of interest to see what can be achieved there, and we're looking for a mixed-use option. So by that I mean is, and Gerald, you could probably expand on it a little bit more. We know we're short on rentals, even in the housing market. So they're the challenges that we have. So how do we get people into a secure rental property or an affordable housing? And I think the terminology around affordable housing has changed, because, and I say this often, and I've got no problem saying it, that if you said to someone maybe 2 years, 3 years ago, who do you think goes into affordable housing? They would naturally think, the person that you see sleeping on the street and they need to get into a home. As things have progressed through COVID and we've seen housing prices, skyrocket and the inability to get in, affordability is for people that have really good jobs. That can't afford to spend $700,000-$800,000 on a new home. So that's where affordable housing comes into, is that mixed use. Those that want to get into a market, start their future in the housing market, whether it's a rental or whatever it might be, and then expand if that's what they want. We're also getting more information as well, that those that want to come here in executive roles or they're in medical professionals don't want the big backyards and those types of things. And at this stage, we haven't seen a lot of developments to accommodate that. And I'm really excited to see what comes in the future, in the very near future, of some inner city living, which I think would be really exciting for our region. Yeah,
we've seen a taste of that. And just to go back on, it's difficult for clients to save deposits.
Absolutely.
That's probably one key that we see as agents, that puts pressure on that rental and affordable housing. And then your rent increases have gone up. Okay, so it's put more pressure on landlords, due to 13 interest rate rises. Absolutely. So collectively, it's had a massive impact, and it can be a vicious circle sometimes. So you've explained that quite well. Shane, I suppose you look at what else we got. Jeez. Probably another thing that's an important factor in Shepparton and Goulburn Valley is our rates. It's always a strong talking point, Shane. Can you just shed
won't press too hard on the rates, but just give us a little bit of information on. I suppose as an agent or agents, we get a lot of clients, look at rates and it's challenging, rated differently for properties and values and so forth. So what can you touch on from our council rate side of things?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, look, I have to obviously, table the fact that, I'm a commercial ratepayer as well, and, and a residential ratepayer. So we're not immune to this.
No.
I get my rates notice.
Yeah, like everyone else.
Like everyone else. Yep. And, are they expensive? Are they cheap? I often say, okay, if it's not what it is now in front of you, when you open up your rates notice, whether that's from a residential, commercial or farm zone, and you open it up and you see what the figure is and you go, gee, that's high. I sort of often say, well, what would you like it to be?
Yeah.
What do you think it should be?
Yeah.
And then I guess there's always that direct comparison of, I used to live in Melbourne and I had an apartment here. People use examples of sort of East Melbourne and these types of locations that, are sort of, affluent areas that, say that their rates are less than what we are.
True.
We've got about $1.3 billion worth of assets that we have to maintain from council. Roads, parks, maternal health, aqua moves. East Bank, the list goes on. Nearly 100 services, animal management. It's impossible to. No, I wouldn't say impossible. It's very challenging to find different ways to generate revenue in council, and the only way is through rates. Right now, what's happened in the past is that there was never a cap. There was never a rate cap. So well before my time is that, if we were sitting around a council table now and we felt that we wanted to up the rates and we thought 6, 7, 8% increase, you could do it.
Yeah.
You would be able to do it.
Yeah.
So what's happened over the many years before, I come here and sit with you and our current council face the challenges of rate capping is that you effectively build an organisation, you build a home, you build a beast, whatever you want to call it, which is our city, based on the income that you've been generating. Then all of a sudden things possibly start to tighten up. And then you start saying, okay, if we're going to start reducing our income through our rate base, what are the services we want to start to be giving up? Now, there's none that sort of stick there at the top of your mind as to what you think, no one wants to get rid of aqua moves, no one wants to get rid of our sports stadium, no one wants Deakin Reserve or our sports precinct to look any worse. So I think it's about maintaining that. Wages go up every year. We all know that as well. And then it's about community expectations. Community have high expectations. We've got to meet those expectations. So then what happened was they brought in the rate cap, which obviously means that you would only be able to go, when we entered council, you could only increase your rates by, if you wanted to, up to 1.75%. Right? So whatever the rate base was, we could add up to 1.75%. In our first 2 years, so our first year, we chose for 0%, so we didn't add. But a lot, as you would know, the rates are done on your valuation of your property. So although we didn't add anything to it, people's rates still went up. And they did go up a lot here. Through COVID, as we saw, things have skyrocketed. So there has been seen, and that perception of rates have gone up. Then what's happened is we did a second year of 0%. That then now started to really impact our bottom line. We're then faced with a flood. So by that I mean is that you're taking millions of dollars off your bottom line through that small ability to generate some more revenue. This one we went for the 3.5%, which was the rate cap, right? To just try and sort of balance that bottom line. As I said, you're not necessarily making up excuses, but we can't hide away from COVID. We can't hide away from the floods, and we can't hide away from the expense that council aren't immune to. Our insurance has skyrocketed. Our energy prices have skyrocketed. I can't quote the figures, but they are beyond what you would even expect that would be classed as a normal increase of some sort. So you've got to try and just maintain, and we want a viable council because we want to still be offering the good events that community go to. There are a number of councils, though, a handful, that have applied for exemptions and been granted exemptions to increase the rate beyond the 3.5% rate cap. So we haven't done that. So what we said is we'll go in the direction of what the state's advising and on the all the financial assessments that have been done, and we'll maintain that. And we'll try and maintain all the good things community want under our current rate base.
It's a fine line.
It is, but I guess at the end of the day is that we don't want to also have it in a way that we're deterring investment.
No.
Here.
No.
But I look at it and say I'm also a big believer, and obviously, coming from retail and business background, is that when you purchase something, there has to be a value.
Yeah.
So I like to think that when people are paying their rates, whether it's farm, commercial or residential, that you are getting value. And we would like to hope that the services that we offer, the events that we put on, the upkeep of the city and the grounds and all the things, that we hope that there is a value there.
Yeah. No, look, well explained, I think, and I think it'll enlighten a lot more of the viewers that watch this episode on rates. So well said there.
I will actually just mention we are currently going to be reviewing our rating strategy as well.
Okay.
Yeah, rates and revenue strategy. Timely, we're reviewing that
Very
to
good.
again just take all the information that we're hearing and just make sure that we're on the right path.
Check there. Yeah. Shane, the other important area for Shepparton and Goulburn Valley is rezoning and land rezoning. It's been a hot topic for some time across different sectors, as we all know. What's forecasted with council, and what's on the table at the moment that you can shed some light on there? For our viewers?
So look, I don't think there would be any surprise as to what's currently in the pipeline. You'd be probably well aware of our 2050 strategy, which effectively sets the direction for that period of time, but does give a lot of people direction around where we see our boundaries. So I'd probably use the example of if you go as far as the Kingupna interchange, sort of Grainvale Road, Doyles Road, swing around to the River Road intersection there, and if you were standing there and had your arms out and facing west and said everything west of these boundaries is effectively being identified as something. And when it means something is most property owners want to get, if they are farming, want to get into a residential or industrial zoning. There's only a small parcel of land that is just south of the old Radio Australia that is still designated as farm zone. But I'm sure into the future that the demand will grow to have those properties rezoned. I'm sure of that because there's schools being built around it and all that. But we also want to protect our agricultural space as well. And then as you come down further south and you start talking about all those areas that surround Channel Road and Poplar Ave, they've all been identified as growth corridors. In particular, Southeast Growth Corridor, and I know you guys have been working on the Northeast Growth Corridor as well. So once people purchase the land and it gets rezoned or identified as residential, and whether that's short, medium or long term, then effectively the ball's in the developer's court or the owner's court. And what I've probably seen is that things can be identified. That doesn't mean someone will go and develop it.
No.
They might just sit on it.
That's right.
So you can have a vision of what we believe, how many blocks of land we've got. But until a shovel hits the ground, they're in sort of cyberspace. These numbers are just sort of just sitting up there, and they're there one day. But what have we got now? When we've probably seen now that we're right up against it. We are right up against it, and as we know, when there's a shortfall, it just drives price up because that's supply and demand. It's as simple as that. So there is enough land identified, in my opinion. There is enough land identified. But is there enough land now ready to be developed? And it was quite fitting that I'm speaking to you today because yesterday we actually met with the VPA board yesterday to obviously share our obviously our community's expectations, our council's expectation is because I get a lot of phone calls from a lot of people saying, hey, what's going on? Like, this has been on the table for years. What's happening? And it does sort of concern me a bit when I have those phone calls because I automatically think, are we holding that? And when I mean we, is council.
That's right.
And more often than not, 95% of the time, it's actually out of our hands. It's been endorsed, precinct structure plans have been endorsed, and it's now sitting with the minister for approval. Right? And that's where, whether we say it's a hold-up, whatever terminology you want to use, and we spoke yesterday with the VPA board and said, we've got to get better at our joint advocacy about saying, hey, look, we're here together, both as a Greater Shepparton City Council and Victorian Planning Authority. These delays, they're unacceptable. Right? We've got people that are waiting to build and develop. We need to get things going because it helps with the affordability. So we spoke yesterday about that because once it leaves council's building, it becomes a minister.
Yeah.
You know, they've got to sign it off.
That's right.
So, and we speak.
Yeah.
I'm on the front foot speaking to them about it. But, you know, when I walk out of the office, someone else walks in.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not about it. It's not competing priorities. It's just what's the hold up?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we're trying to work through.
Yep. Very good. What else would you like to talk about, Shane? Is there anything else you want to touch on for our viewers?
I just think it's probably, you know, what I've learned being born and bred here and in some ways feeling that I was connected to community before I got into the council role, that once I was elected and then even more so becoming mayor, we've got some really good people out there. Some really good people doing some really good things.
Yeah.
And we're talking volunteers. We're talking people that don't get the public recognition. They're not looking for it.
No.
And I feel a little bit embarrassed at times when you go to different events and whatever, and you'll be acknowledged, and I can appreciate and understand that. But sometimes I like to just sit at the back and just watch people do their thing. And we've got a special community. It was highlighted through the floods. When things get tough, people really come to the forefront. But it seems like we're, you know, really self-driven.
Yeah.
And I think that's what separates us from others, that, you know, we don't put our hand out. We're trying to drive. We're pushing for good things. And, you know, I'm super proud of this community and the support they give me. But seeing it from a mayoral perspective is unbelievable. I mean, I'm proud to call this place my home. And I want everyone else out there that you're living in you know, we're a bit biased, but you're living in the best regional city in Australia. And please, if you can find a better place, let me know, because I haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
So.
Well done. Thank you, Shane.
No worries, Gerald.
That's a great insight, guys, on the Mayor of Greater Shepparton, Shane Sali. So thank you for watching. You can watch us all on your latest podcast on GSRE. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe on your favourite podcast platform so you don't miss upcoming episodes. We would love you to share this podcast with your network, and if you have any questions or feedback, please connect with us via our social network or head to gagliardiscott.com.au.